I think I've finally reached my first big long-term goal. And my first big long-term goal was to... Hola, soy AJ. Hey guys, my name is AJ and I'm back with another Dreaming Spanish update for you guys. And this one is really exciting because today I am at 840 hours. So it's been roughly like, I would say like 110, 115 hours since my last video, and a lot has changed. Now, these past few months, I haven't been getting as much Spanish as I normally would. That's because I don't know, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you might know that I'm in college and I'm majoring in computer engineering. And if you know anything about engineering majors, your last 2 semesters in college, you have to pretty much like make a pretty big project that kind of like decides whether you're going to graduate or not. So that's what I've been working on these past few months. And there have been days where I've been missing my Spanish, but I made sure that I was averaging I was getting at least 50 hours a month over these past like 2-3 months. So I've still been getting in my Spanish. And then finally on August 2nd, I graduated. So I graduated with an undergraduate in computer engineering from the University of Central Florida. And now I'm officially done. I'm officially done with college. I officially made it. And I have this next month of August, I guess, to just focus all of my energy into whatever it is I want to, which is probably going to be Spanish and other things. But yeah, I'm really excited. The only thing I'm not excited for is to start work in September. But you know what? We got to pay bills. We got to pay rent. So I'm just happy that I'm excited that I have a job. So I know in my last video, I told you guys that I wanted to be getting roughly 1 hour of visual media a day. And that's because I believe, and I'm pretty sure like it's not only like a belief, it's like a real thing, that like visual media is going to be better for you than audio media. Like 100%. Visual input is better than auditory input. And that's purely because there's more context, right? Like I saw another guy in a video say, give this example, and it's a great example. Like if you hear somebody on a podcast say, oh, I put my keys on the table, or if you watch a TV show and they're saying, oh, I put my keys on the table, and you literally see them put their keys on the table, you're obviously going to be able to pick up what's happening way faster than if it was just a podcast. So that's why I want to be getting at least 1 hour of visual media a day. Now, did I get at least 1 hour of visual media a day? No. But did I average at least 1 hour of visual media a day? Yes, I did. And that is what I've contributed to like my biggest amount of growth over these past 110 hours. And I'm going to talk to you about that in a sec. So it all started, I'm pretty sure I told you guys that I had just finished Avatar when I made that video, and I was looking to find another show to watch. And I think I showed you guys like a few videos that were dubbed on Netflix that I was thinking about watching, and I ended up choosing Mashal. Mashal is pretty much just like this anime about, I guess, like this magic society where like everybody has magic and different kinds of magic, but there's just one boy who doesn't have any magic, and if they find out that he doesn't have magic, they're gonna like kill him. So they put him into like, first, like he has to go to like this magic school and pretty much like climb the ranks to become like the #1 magician, so that they don't like, I guess, like off him kind of thing. And if I do remember correctly, there were 48 episodes. I think each season was like 24 episodes. And I started by only watching like 2 episodes a day. Then I was like, oh man, like, I kind of want to know what happens next. So then I go to watching 3 episodes one day, and then my new normal would become watching 3 episodes a day. And then the same thing would happen. I'd be interested. I'd be like get caught on a cliffhanger or something. So then I'd watch 4 episodes. And then by the end of the second season, I was watching 5 to 6 episodes a day. And each of those episodes are 20 minutes long. So I'm getting, and I told you guys that the amount of hours I'm trying to get every day is like roughly 2 hours. So I'm almost hitting my entire goal off of just visual input alone, which is absolutely insane, because if you have watched any of my previous videos, you will know that I was very, very big on auditory input. It's almost like they just completely switched, because like it was just so easy for me to get auditory input in. Now, let me preface this by saying, if you can't get in visual input, or if you enjoy auditory input more, keep doing that. Keep listening to podcasts. Do whatever you are going to enjoy more, or whatever you have the ability to do. Me, I am just in a position right now where I can watch more visual media, where I can substitute my visual media for my auditory media. So that's what I decided to do. But yeah, so I watched Mashal and I loved it. I loved like towards the end of it. In the beginning, I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is kind of slow, but it gets better. Like it definitely speeds up towards the end, and then the second season is definitely better. Like it's a pretty good show. It was surprising surprisingly better than I thought it was going to be. And then the next show that I watched was The Legend of Korra. So I decided, well, with Mashal, I watched it using a VPN in Netflix, and changing my location to Mexico. But with Korra, I couldn't find the Spanish dub of it on anywhere. So what I did was I went on this website called Lat Anime, L-A-T Anime. You can search it up into Google, and pretty much it's one of those websites to where if there is any show that is dubbed, or any cartoon / anime that is dubbed in Spanish, it is going to be on that website. So I would definitely check it out. But on that website, I was able to watch Legend of Korra. So that entire thing was like 52 episodes, I'm pretty sure. So 52 plus 48. So far from Mashal and Korra, I've watched like 100 episodes of visual media, and I was watching like 3 episodes a day. Like I was really enjoying it. Like there were some days where I watched 4 or 5 episodes if I was really like into it. And really quickly, I want to talk about my comprehension level of these shows, because I don't want you to think that I'm out here understanding 90, 95, 80, 85% of what they're saying, because I'm not, right? Like I would say that I'm probably understanding as much watching as I would understand probably like any other YouTube video, any other like advanced native level like YouTube video that I would find like maybe on the internet. But what's really good about anime is the context, because it is drawn, because everything is visual. They can draw images up on the screen. They can exaggerate people's emotions. And another thing that's different about anime than watching like, I guess, like regular dub shows or like live action shows is that I feel like live action shows, they're oftentimes like talking about something else. Especially if it's just like a normal everyday show like Friends, it's people sitting in a room talking about other things. So if you don't know the vocabulary about those other things that they're talking about, you have no idea what's going on. They could be talking about boyfriends, they could be talking about their job, they could be talking about a random guy they met in the street. But that's a lot of what Friends is. It's just people sitting in a room and talk. But anime, what it is, a lot of times it's them going out doing something and then talking about what they're doing at the same time. And that helps me a lot, because one, it helps you, not only does it help you understand what's going on, because they explain a lot of stuff in anime too, it helps you like stay focused on the story. But yeah, so it's not like I'm out here watching these shows as if like I'm watching English shows. No, that is definitely not the case. It definitely does still take a little bit of effort to be able to watch these shows. But I'm telling you, like where I'm at now, like at 840 hours, like the amount of force that it takes for me to sit down and just watch a show now is way less than it was like even like just 100 hours ago. Even when it was like at 730 hours, like I'm way more comfortable now sitting down and watching like a show than I was 100 hours ago or 150 hours ago. And then I watched a random 12 episode like slice of life anime, and those ones are really cool because you're able to understand more. And a lot of the times the slice of life anime, like the cadence is a little bit slower, so that way you're able to pick up more vocabulary, and it's more like everyday speech too, so it's a little bit more useful. So I watched like I said, I watched that 12 episode anime. Then I watched Classroom of the Elite. I watched the first episode, or I watched the first season, and I want to get into the second season. The only problem with it is Classroom of the Elite is one of those like strategy based shows, so like watching or like strategic, like problem solving kind of shows, and it's really hard to watch a show like that that's like very strategic based in another language. Because like like shows like that can already be a little confusing in English, so it's like whenever you're watching them in a second language, it could be even worse. And I've already watched Classroom of the Elite like 2 or 3 times before, like at least the first season, so that wasn't that bad. But then I watched like the first episode of the second season, and I was like, ooh. So we'll see. I think I'm gonna try like 2 more episodes to see how it is, and if I'm not really understanding it, I might just put it on the shelf for now and come back. But after watching Classroom of the Elite, I went and watched or after watching that first season, I went and watched another 12 episode a slice of life anime, and I noticed that it was like, it felt way easier. Like Classroom of the Elite, I think it's very dialogue heavy again, because it's like one of those like strategic kind of shows. So watching another like slice of life anime show that's like a little bit shorter did make things like a lot easier. And so those are all of the anime that I've watched so far. So it's cool because like I told you guys that I wanted to finish like probably 1 show by the time, 1 or 2 shows maybe by the next time that I make this video. And now, like looking at my list, 1 2 3 4 5, I finished 5 shows or 5 seasons of shows. That is 48 episodes of Mashal, then 52 episodes from Korra, so that's 100, 12 episode anime, then 12 episodes from Classroom of the Elite, and then another 12 episode anime that I just just watched. So that's like 136 episodes. That's like, so like, if you ask me, that's pretty good. Like, compared to how I've been before, where, you know, I'd maybe watch, like, I'd average like one episode of Avatar every other day. So like, doing that was I feel like I'm on the right path. And I know people talk about, oh, well, like, anime isn't necessarily like the best way to learn because that's not like how they really talk, and you're missing out on a lot of slang and none of this, none of that. And like, when people say that, or if I see that, or if somebody were to say that to me, all I would say is that, like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, the way that they talk in intermediate videos is not the way they talk in real life. The way they talk in beginner videos is not the way they talk in real life. So I don't care if I'm watching a show and it's not how they talk in real life. It's okay, because I'm still improving my Spanish and I'm having fun while I'm doing it. And it doesn't feel like a hassle. And one thing that's really, really cool about watching like anime specifically is that I told you guys like about like the context, about how they're able to draw things on the screen, and about how you're able to just understand a lot of things due to like just how visual it is when compared with like a live action show. And hearing that description, I don't know if you guys have recognized it already, but I actually made a connection from the way that I felt watching anime, at least in the beginning, was very similar to how I felt watching Pablo's whiteboard videos. I don't know about you guys, but I forget if it was in beginner or super beginner, but there was a point in time where like I didn't really understand what Pablo was saying or what was going on, but all I had to watch were these whiteboard videos. So I just watched the whiteboard videos and I used the visual context to figure out what was going on, and not like really think about the auditory part of it at all, and just watch the video and just watch the story on the whiteboard. And somehow, some way, like, those words got implanted into my brain, and now, you know, I learned from doing that. So I'm looking at watching anime as almost like a second version of that. Like I'm watching these shows that have all of this visual context, and even if I'm not understanding all of the words, I'm definitely understanding the meaning of what's happening, or understanding the context and the situation of what's happening because of the show, because it's anime. So yeah, and I definitely feel it working. Like, I would say now where I'm at 840 hours, I don't know if I said I was at 840 hours, but now where I'm at 840 hours, I think I've finally reached my first big long-term goal. And my first big long-term goal was to be able to watch shows comfortably. And the reason why is because I felt like if I could just get to a point to where I could just, after work or after school or after whatever, if I could just, you know, watch my favorite YouTuber or turn on a show that I'm actually genuinely interested in and just watch it in another language, that way I'll always be able to stick with Spanish. One, and two, it's just going to make getting in Spanish so much easier, because now it's actually enjoyable. Like, it was enjoyable before, don't get me wrong, it was enjoyable before, but now it's even more enjoyable because I'm actually enjoying the show. And another thing is that if you feel like sometimes, especially like when watching like maybe like a live action show, like you're not really like enjoying it as much, like if you're watching like a Friends, or if you're watching like a Parks and Rec, and you know, you feel like you're not really understanding, try watching an anime that has a story, like not just a slice of life anime, but an actual anime that has like a story that you could follow. Because that's another thing that helped me, I felt like especially when it comes to shows like Mashal or shows like Korra, because there is a storyline going on. So again, the knowledge that you have about the storyline and about what you know needs to happen next, all of that stuff adds to like the context, and it adds to your ability to be able to pick up on new words, even if you don't know what those words are. But I do want to say that after these past 5 anime, I have started my first live action show, and it's not even like really a show, it's actually a reality show. Season of Perfect Match came out on Netflix. It's kind of like this reality dating TV show that's kind of like, it's pretty much kind of like Love Island, but instead of it being random people that are going on Love Island, it's people from other reality shows going on this reality show. It's kind of weird. And I'm really enjoying it because I'm getting a lot of like real world dialogue, like actually like real people talking to each other, even though it is still dubbed. Like, I am enjoying that. And next I want to go over just a little bit about like what I've been listening to. I've been listening to if he does, like I said, I finished Espanol con Juan, so if he does post a video, I will listen, or if he does post a podcast, I will listen to it. He's posted like 2, I think, since my last video. I'll be listening to, my number 1 right now is How to Spanish. I kind of like fell off How to Spanish a little bit, but then I got back on. And then there's obviously the Dreaming Spanish podcast. if I'm doing like a long car ride, I might throw on like Andrea's podcast, and like also like the No Hay Toast podcast. But I would say my two main are, my main is the How to Spanish. Like every day I wake up and I probably listen to at least one or two podcasts from the How to Spanish, and I'm at like roughly like 190 around that area, like in terms of like their episode. And then my number two is tied between Dreaming Spanish podcast and the No Hay Toast podcast. Dreaming Spanish, they release one podcast a week. No Hay Toast, I probably listen to like one or two of their podcasts a week. I just really enjoy the How to Spanish right now, and I'm at a point right now to where like I feel like I've listened to the podcast so much to where like it's pretty enjoyable and it's like pretty easy for me to listen to it now. So that's what I'm doing for podcasts. And one thing that's really cool though about listening to all of these dubbed shows, which I'm listening to like the Latin American version, and listening to the not the No Hay Toast, but listening to the How to Spanish podcast, is that my ear for Mexican Spanish has definitely gotten better. And what I mean by that is I told you guys that before, like I'd listen to pretty much Espanol con Juan, and then I'd watch Spanish Boost gaming videos, so I'm only getting your Spain Spanish and Argentinian Spanish. And whenever I would go to listen to people from Spain or listen to people from Argentina, it was pretty easy. But whenever I go to listen to somebody from any other country from Latin America, I could tell that it was more difficult for sure. So, and now I feel like it's the exact opposite. Now I feel like Latin American Spanish is actually like the easiest for me now, just because the past 100 hours, that's pretty much all I've been listening to. I barely listen to, like, if I do listen to any European Spanish or any Argentinian Spanish, it'll be like a Spanish Boost gaming video, or it'll be the very, very rare like Dreaming Spanish video. But yeah, and what's really cool is that like now, like I said, my ear has been like a little bit fine-tuned for Mexican Spanish, even though, and I'm not even talking about the slang. Like I'm not even talking about like, because if you'd have asked me about like Mexican slang, I'd probably know like one or two words, or maybe like three or four, maybe, because who knows, I might have picked it up. But like not even the slang at all, but just like the cadence, the rhythm, and just like the sound of it, if that makes any sense. Like Mexican Spanish, because I've been listening to it so much, sounds more familiar to me. And it was really cool because I remember one time, like I think I was scrolling like on my phone or something, and I heard some Spanish, and I was like, that sounds very familiar. And then I went and looked at like the description, and it was like a Mexican person speaking Spanish. And like that was so cool, because before I started doing this, if I was going to listen to Mexican Spanish, it would be the exact opposite. Like it would be my worst kind of Spanish, and that upsetted me because that's kind of what I wanted. Like I wanted to be able to understand Mexican Spanish. So now that I'm at a point to where like I can understand it a lot better, I'm definitely more excited. And I'm at a point right now where I've been able to do this for a while, like tell the differences between different accents, or being able to hear the difference between different accents. But now it's even more apparent. Like Mexican Spanish sounds like Mexican Spanish, Colombian Spanish sounds like Colombian Spanish, and I don't care what you guys say, Colombian Spanish and Venezuelan Spanish do not sound the same. A lot of people say they sound like similar, they do not. I 100% hear a difference when I hear somebody from Venezuela speak and when I hear from somebody from Colombia speak. And then even if I hear somebody from Colombia speak that lives on the border, like next to Venezuela, I can tell, because they do not sound like, I guess, like the Colombian that I'm adjusted to. They sound like more like Venezuelan. But like that's pretty cool. Like it's pretty cool that I've been able to like pick up on the accents like a lot better. And I also want to talk about that I want to start shadowing at 9. I wrote down at 900 hours, but I might even start doing it sooner. And that's because recently I took a trip to Miami, and I stayed in a little community called Little Havana, and it's pretty much like a really big Cuban community there, and everybody spoke Spanish there. Now I wasn't speaking because I hadn't like practiced any speaking, and I know that sometimes like those like Caribbean countries can have like different accents, so I didn't want to try to start a conversation and then like them hit me with something that I've never heard before, and then like I'm stuck, like not being able to understand. But like I barely had a very little conversation with an old man. I just said that like, the museum was very nice, and he was like, oh yeah, like the museum is very beautiful. And then we just said like, oh yeah, it's super hot outside though, because it's obviously Miami. But just being around it and being around all the Spanish, hearing it and being able to understand it, because they even had like, there's this one lady, they were having like this event where this one lady was speaking on stage about like a guy in their community that I think was running for some like local government position, and they were just talking about how like he's done a lot for the community, now he's been there for a long time. And it was crazy because I'm walking through this crowd and this lady is speaking in Spanish, completely in Spanish. Everybody around me is like Spanish, and I'm listening to it it too. And I'm like, whoa, like I'm understanding it too. Like I know what she's saying. Like I get it. Like, and it was cool because it was my first time hearing like Spanish, like real Spanish in the real world and actually being able to understand it. So that was really cool. But going back to what I was saying was that I want to start shadowing, which if you don't know what shadowing is, it's kind of like when you listen to like a little bit of a speech and then you try to say that speech back, but mimic it and mimic the sounds. And what that can do is it can help, first off, get you used to just like speaking and saying the words. And then two, it can also help you with your accent because you're trying to mimic their accent as close as possible. And I'm not one of those people that is a very big like accent person. Like I'm not one of those people that's like, oh my gosh, I need to have a perfect accent, this or that. But I am one of those person that I know I'm lazy, right? And I know that I am going to want to make it as easy as possible for myself to start speaking. So I figure whenever you start speaking, I'd have to be working on thinking in Spanish. I have to be working on speaking those words out and then pronouncing them correctly. So that's me working on 3 things at the same time, when really I can work on the pronunciation right now. I can work on, just saying the words out loud now and saying them in a correct order now, so that whenever it gets time for me to start thinking on my own, it won't be as bad. Like it'll be a lot easier because I've already done like 100 hours of kind of like speaking practice, if that makes any sense. And it might be 150 because I've just been so excited to start like trying to speak, and I'm seeing like how good my Spanish is now. I think I might try and start shadowing now, but we'll see. Like I say that now, and who knows, I might hit 900 hours and be like, okay, now I'll start it, because I didn't feel like doing it for the past like 60 hours or whatever. But I found this YouTube channel that has a very short like Mexican conversations. I think I have a playlist of it. It's like right here if you want to have it, and I'll probably link it down in the description. But yeah, so what I plan on doing is watching probably like 1 or 2 of those videos a day and going through it slowly and just trying to take like 5-10 minutes a day to just try to like shadow pretty much, because I really do think that'll help me when it comes to starting to speak. And because for me, I'm starting to realize there are phrases, more and more phrases will be popping into my head, and especially because I've been watching dubbed shows, or I've been watching especially because I've been watching dubbed shows. Like one cool thing about watching dubbed shows versus watching YouTube is that you're actually seeing how people interact. It's like, yeah, like for the most part, like a conversation between 2 people on TV is going to be very similar to a conversation between 2 people in real life, but that's not how it is like in a YouTube video. So what's really cool is that like, because I'm watching all of these dubbed shows, like these phrases are sticking into my brain. So now like in real life, if something were to happen, like if I were to drop something or spill something, or I see something like specific, I'll hear like, it's almost like I'll hear like the Spanish response to that in my head, which is really cool because I've heard other people talk about that happening before to them, and now it's starting to happen to me. And I'm definitely noticing that I'm noticing words faster. And what I mean by that is that like now a lot of the times, because like my comprehension is good and my vocab and like the amount of words that I know in a sentence is really good, whenever I hear a word that I don't know, a lot of the time, I would say probably like half the time, before it used to be like 0% of the time, but a lot of the times now, like I instantly have like a mini definition for it. Not like a full complete definition, but like a little like, oh, okay, this word probably means this. And then I move on with my day. I don't try to like bank it or anything like that. But a lot of the times, like I'll hear a word in context now, I'm like, okay, that probably means this. And then I get to move on. And then the last thing I want to talk about is I kind of want to address something that I've seen a lot of people talking about like on the Reddit, and that's them being disappointed with their level at 1,000 hours. I feel like it's impossible to be disappointed with your comprehension level because you're seeing it slowly progress this entire time. So like, I mean, your comprehension level, by the time you get to 1,000 hours, you should be happy with it. Like to me, I'm happy with my comprehension level right now at 850, 840. So I already know once I get to 1,000, once I get to 1,500, once I get to 1,800, I'm going to be even more happy about it. But I've seen especially a lot of people being disappointed with their speaking ability. And here's why I don't think I'm going to be disappointed with my speaking ability, because I've already been humbled. And this is one of the reasons why I think it is important for a lot of people to try to speak early. Now by early, I don't mean like 300 hours. I mean like just try speaking. Try booking an italki lesson and speaking at 500 hours or 600 hours, because I booked an italki lessons. I told you guys this before. There were 2 lessons that I booked. One, we did a cross-talk the entire session, and at the end I spoke for 5 minutes straight at 550 hours. And then I felt amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, I know Spanish. I can speak Spanish. I'm that guy pretty much. But then the next lesson, I booked booked with a different professor, and I thought it was going to be a crosstalk lesson, and it turns out it wasn't. So that for that entire hour, I had to speak in Spanish. And that took my levels from here all the way down to here. But it humbled me though. And I think that was very important because it gave me a realistic expectation or a realistic baseline of where I'm at. And I think you guys should try it too. Like, I think once you hit 600 hours, I think you should try to speak. At least try to book a few lessons, maybe book a crosstalk lesson or something and speak for some of it, do crosstalk for most of it, and at the end try to speak, and then book a regular lesson and try to speak for that entire hour, because that's going to set a very good baseline for you, and you're going to know that, like, okay, this is really where I'm at. Like, I'm really like, okay, these are the problems that I'm having. This is what I can and can't say. This is what I can and can't understand. And one thing that you'll realize is speaking by yourself and speaking in a conversation are two completely different things. Well, they're not completely different, but like trying to respond, like, versus just like thinking of like a conversation in your head and then like having a conversation with yourself versus trying to respond to somebody that's actually speaking to you in Spanish is very different. So that's a skill you have to practice as well. I think if more people did that, if more people tried to speak maybe at 500 or 600 hours, they would know, okay, this is what level I'm at right now. So as they keep advancing to 1,000 hours, kind of what I'm doing is for every however many hours, I'm seeing that I'm improving slowly but surely, but I don't have this unrealistic expectation of I'm gonna get to 1,000 hours and I'm gonna know how to speak fluently. Like, I know that's not gonna happen. When I get to 1,000 hours, I expect for the speaking to be easier. Obviously, I expect for me to know more. I expect for me to be more comfortable than I was before. But I know I still have an idea of what my level is right now. And I think that's very important. So if you're at, 500 hours or 600 hours, try speaking. Just try it. You know what I'm saying? Like book a lesson or two, book a crosstalk lesson. And what you can do is that, you could book a crosstalk lesson for the first, 45 minutes of the crosstalk lesson. You can speak English. And then you could be like, okay, can I try I want to try the last 15 minutes to try to speak in Spanish. And then you'll see, and then that's another thing, like speaking for like 2 minutes or speaking for 5 minutes isn't bad, but speaking for 30 minutes, speaking for 45, speaking for an hour, that's really where you start to notice the gaps in your knowledge. So I know Pablo says doesn't really recommend speaking early, but I say try it. Now, me personally, I spoke and then I realized, okay, I don't want to speak anymore because I know that I want to wait. And if you want to do that, that's fine too. I'm just saying, I feel like you should try to speak at least once or twice so that you know what level you're at. So that whenever you do hit 1,000 hours, you're not super disappointed because you thought you were going to be fluent or whatever. But yeah, so 840 hours right now. Looking for the future, I would say for these next 150 hours. So my next update will probably just be whenever I hit 1,000 hours. So, we'll see. That'll be cool. And for the future, I just plan on watching more dubbed shows. I plan on watching a lot more anime because I see that it's working. I plan on watching, probably maybe a show on Netflix here or there. We'll see, depending on what I'm interested in. I saw that they recently released Ironheart on Disney Plus. So if that's dubbed in Spanish, I'll watch that maybe. Who knows? We'll see. But I'm definitely noticing that most of my media now, most of everything that I watch is in Spanish with the exception of YouTube. YouTube is kind of like my escape. YouTube and anime that are coming out weekly. So YouTube and shows if shows like Don Don, shows like To Be Hero X, shows like Kaiju Number 8, shows there's another one that I'm thinking of. But yeah, those shows that are coming out every week, I'm just watching them in English or watching them in Japanese or my YouTube, I'm watching that in English. Or if it's like a show like The Ultimate Fighter or anything like that, I'm watching that in English. But most of my shows that I watch during the day is the dubbed anime because like I said, I'm at a point right now to where it's it's not difficult, it's not hard to watch a show anymore. So it's a lot easier for me to just, sit down and enjoy it. Like it's becoming enjoyable now. And that's what I'm so excited for. I'm so excited for the future, because this is a point where I wanted to get to. I wanted to get to a point where it doesn't feel like homework anymore. And the craziest part is that it's only going to get better from here. I think there was this one guy that said that once you hit 1,800 hours, that's when you'll feel like Spanish is not like Spanish is like English in terms of like understanding, or in terms of speaking. But a lot of people say that pretty much once you kind of hit that 1,800 hour range, they say it doesn't feel like you're doing Spanish anymore. It just feels like you're consuming content, and if it's in Spanish, it's in Spanish. If it's in English, it's in English. Now, obviously, if it's super difficult, that'll be something that's different. Or if it's super difficult or using super specific vocabulary, that's obviously a different story. But for the most part, I know that it's only going to be getting better from here, and I'm very excited for that. And yeah. And like I said, my next new goal, my last goal was watching dub shows or watching visual media. And now my next goal is going to be trying to shadow. So I'm really going to try to shadow every day, even if it's only like the videos are 2 minutes long. So hopefully as long as I don't forget, I should be good. So yeah. All right. I want to say to you guys to have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.